the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, it's
Rolled
Christmas.
chicken tacos are back at Taco Bell, Sejohn. Yes, that's why I cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Hello and welcome to the Stay Report. I'm your host, Devon Decker, and that guy who's still happy about Christmas.
Well, I
That's
think keep
Sejohn
saying the
Sarah.
holidays keep starting earlier and earlier, and I was never really one to jump on that train until they started bringing out rolled chicken tacos this far in advance. Come on now, guys.
Yeah, it's
A
true.
holiday tradition, but not necessary this early.
At this point, we do have to mention that Taco Bell is in no way affiliated with or sponsors the Say Report.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
But I have the sign. Yeah, that's it. This was our chance to get sponsorship or maybe affiliation with Taco Bell, and this jamoke drops the F-bomb. But here's my problem with the rolled chicken tacos, and the reason why we celebrate the rolled chicken tacos at the Say Report. If you're a listener, you know why, because you've listened to the rolled chicken taco report from a year ago.
Hey.
But most importantly is at least 4 years ago now, leaving the Providence Place Mall, I stole the signage for rolled chicken tacos, knowing they had been discontinued for the year. Knowing that, like the McRib, they had gone back into fast food hibernation.
Yeah, so you made sure you weren't taking the sign at an inconvenient time.
Yeah,
for
it
them.
wasn't like the sign went up that day and I'm like, oh, I'm taking you. Thank
Some
you.
guy came outside with like a penknife in hand, saw your work, and was just like, "Oh, thank God," and walked back in.
Guys, we don't need to make these.
It's good. We're
no,
good now.
No, we saved, like, it was, I helped that dude out. And that sign prominently displays in the Say Cave, which is what I call the portion of the dev lair where I record the show. So, and here's
If you needed more proof that he was an evil villain, everybody, here we go.
here's the big fuck of it, though. They keep cutting back on the sauces that are available with the rolled chicken tacos. Because the sign
What? No Szechuan sauce?
But the signage that I took 4 years ago, first of all, spicy ranch is new, denoted by the word new and an exclamation point. And then you
Well.
have salsa premium guacamole, nacho cheese sauce, and reduced fat sour cream. Now, last year, they had completely gotten rid of salsa as an option.
Well, it's a Taco Bell.
Yeah,
They have that shit in rows,
but
so what
they're
are they
like
doing?
rolled chicken tacos choice of sauces, and it was those 5 I just mentioned, no salsa. And this year they have eliminated reduced fat sour cream. The guacamole is no longer premium, and everyone knows what spicy ranch sauce is. It's what makes the cheesy gordita crunch taste so delicious.
Oh man. Okay.
All right, so this is enough talk about fast food. But,
Welcome.
if you're listening to the show, you should be following us on Twitter at The Say Report, or you should be our friend on our Facebook group.
Yes, I'll be your friend.
Or listening. If you're listening, come on, interact with us. We want to hear from you. Because last night when I stopped at Taco Bell on a whim, right? Because last night I was out later than I should have been because I started watching Love Actually late at night, and then I'm like at a friend's house, and I'm like, well, I gotta finish Love Actually, and then afterwards she's like, so I'm gonna go to bed, and I'm like, yeah, not to be rude, I gotta watch these credits. I understand that the movie is over, and not to be rude, here's the rudest thing I could say, I'm watching these credits.
Just because you say not to be rude before something doesn't make it automatically not rude. You know this, right?
Well, you know what? Honestly, in some ways, when those words came out of my mouth, I might have been talking to the credits. Like, I'm not trying to be rude to her, guys. Like, do not think that, like, this is the type of person that I am, but you matter to me, credits to Love Actually.
Oh, man. Like when somebody says with all due respect. Fuck you for anything that comes after that.
With all due respect, everything I'm about to say, wicked disrespectful.
Uh-huh. Man.
So I stopped and I took a photo and I posted it because rolled chicken tacos literally do make me very happy. And I have to share that with the world. The joy that rolled chicken tacos bring me is
Rolled
almost
chicken tacos?
rolled
What are
chicken
they?
tacos.
Rolled chicken tacos.
Bring me is almost. I had a beautiful metaphor for this, but I forgot the character that
Yeah.
I was going to quote. So I'll get back there
They are like
eventually.
ticking time bombs once they get into my digestive system. Then at that point, it does feel like a bomb has gone off.
That's kind of the fun, though, isn't it?
The joys of Taco Bell and the 3 hours spent later.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
I'm glad that you've had some good times because I gotta tell you, I've been having some difficulties on the Salt Lake side of things.
Oh, that's that. The I guess we'll talk about them. I came home to something that was pretty disappointing, and did everything I could to distract myself from it, so it wouldn't be how I led this episode. So you go ahead, and I'll try to think of how happy I want to be, because I had this beautiful metaphor for like what happiness truly is,
Well,
and I've
good
forgotten.
because you could talk to me about happiness after this because I'm having a not so happy week right now. It's been good. It's the holiday, right? We had a good holiday, and in fact, I had two. That was good stuff. We'll talk about happy stuff, but I got look. If there's one thing that you learned tonight on today's Hay Report, and I assume you're listening to this at night after you've had dinner and the candles are still lit and the wine is still flowing, right? That's how everybody listens to this show. Maybe you're running a bath. Um,
They're not you, Sejohn.
all right. Maybe that was too far. I will say this. The immortal lesson taught to us by, oh no, how have I forgotten the band? Who sings Take the Money and Run? I was about to make a Take the Money and Run joke.
That would be the Steve Miller Band.
Still Miller Band. I was just like listening to it, like because I was feeling it so bad. Anyway, don't take jobs without contracts, folks.
Oh no.
No, it's fine. I've been doing the Amazon gig, and the great and mighty Amazon. I love you and could not. Please don't hurt me, please. I love my job there. Like that's been going very well. I said, looking over my shoulder. Um, but no, like that job's been going fine. But I've been trying to pick up other gigs, trying to keep the artistic juices flowing, as it were. And besides this show, that actually does help a lot in that department. I've been trying to do some other stuff, and fool on me for taking a job and asking for a contract up front and not getting it, but doing a little bit of work and asking for it again and not getting it, and then doing a little bit more work, and then finally realizing why am I keep doing all this work without a contract? And sure enough, got said contract after doing all said work, and it did not merit the amount of work I had already done. Never mind whatever work they wanted me to do there on out. So I parted ways with a job today. So I'm on the end of that right now.
So this is a cool moment for me because we're going to go a little origin-y right now, and that's cool. Sejohn, though he is younger than I, the dev man, he has much more, let's call it post-high school educational experience than I.
Okay. I continued with my college education in a way that Devon didn't need to after he got his college degree.
And
The
the
end.
beautiful thing is, Sejohn just learned the lesson that I learned that final year of college.
And so endeth the lesson.
And so endeth the lesson. And it's an unfortunate truth in these these artistic endeavors that we commit to, that you need to know what you're getting into before you get into it.
Right.
It's
Right.
something that I learned. I really learned it my junior year of school. When I asked my advisor, the beautiful, patron of the show. I can't call him a patron because he doesn't give us any money or anything like that. But I feel like he blesses in some small way everything that I've ever done artistically. And that's one David T. Howard.
Hey, David.
And hi, David. And it's one of those things where in junior year, I'm like, I'm about to go meet with these people. What do you think would be a fair salary for me? Like, if they tell me how much I'm going to make, what should I, this is what I'm going to do. Like, what should I try to negotiate to? And he looked me dead in the eye, and he said, you right now, with all of your experience, are worth $100 a day.
Fantastic.
And I'm like, he said a lot of nice things to me. He's also said some not nice things. that like I learned later were kind of nice. But at the time, it was like, oh wow, this is a real weird moment. Like if it were a TV show, people at home would be like, oh God, what is happening? What is this episode? And it's one of those things that stuck with me. Now I have never made $100 a day.
Yeah.
since that. In fact, that the gig that I met with wanted to pay me $150 for 3 weeks of work.
Okay. Now,
to be fair, they were going to also let me stay on a couch in someone's basement.
Oh.
So all of my rooming would be taken care of.
Oh, man. Putting you up in the lap of luxury, giving you all this money. Man, Devin, how did you turn it down?
Well, because someone whose opinion still really matters to me in no small way told me I was worth $100 a day. And I believed him, and I should believe him, right? It's one of those things where, like, I understand that he's right and where he's coming from, but he's also coming from that in a perfect world scenario where people understood the value of art.
Right.
And we live in a society that kind of doesn't, to be honest. I have another friend who will actually remain nameless in this particular endeavor who said that art is for the rich. Like, the idea of the starving artist is a myth because a lot of the people who are doing art are being taken care of. And, I mean, I've seen that firsthand, and I mean, no offense to anybody who was doing this, but, like, I met a lot of people who were going to school to be actors or who were trying to be actors in New York, and they lived in houses that were paid for by their parents.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like people don't necessarily always understand how lucky they have it in some of those instances, because I know plenty of those people as well would go off to Chicago, go off to New York, and or LA even, and like they were just doing the whole internet thing, talking about how hard it was today because they've had to eat at McDonald's, and it's just like, what? Like, oh, I only had 30 minutes and I could only do this, and I only have this much money, so I could only afford this Big Mac, and it's just like, that's great. There's been days when I have not had the money for that, my friend. And, like it's no knock against those people. Like, good on them that they've got this ability to do this. I just hope that one day they recognize the people that helped them get there, because that's the big thing, right? Is like seeing these people. Every movie star that you see started off in a place of being an amateur and also probably being in a position of like not knowing if this was going to work, whether or not they had safety nets around them or not. Like every single person you've seen up there took a risk in doing the job that they are doing, and like I think that should always be remembered and applauded. But at some point, you have to ask yourself when you're doing stuff like this, and all of the creative things that we do, whether we're getting paid for them or if it is just something to just help us, like as an outlet. People do community art, community theater, murals, and all that sort of stuff for free. They don't get paid, but you've got to figure out,
maybe you and your friend call each other for an hour a week and record it. Like
exactly, is the destination worth the bumps on the road, right? Like, is the ride really going to be worth it for you? And today I hit a point where I realized no, and I got off at the nearest exit. Like that's really that was a lesson learned for me today. And I just want you all out there to just take a moment, reevaluate that thing that's really stressing you out, and just ask yourself, is this worth it? Because like all good relationships, there's going to be, shit to deal with.
There's going to be rough patches.
But if it's worth it because, you want to be working with these people, you want to be producing whatever it is that you're producing, then good. Then, only you can make that decision. Because I also know plenty of people that would sit back and watch some of the beatings that I've taken on other jobs that I've done and that have told me, like, why do you do this? Why do you put up with that? But those jobs were worth it. This job was not.
I mean, that was the other thing that college was for me, where my parents, every time I would come home, I would be like wiped and I would have nothing but complaints, and they'd be like, so why are you doing this? And the thing is, and this is an important lesson, is I never had a good answer for that question. Mm-hmm. I was kind of only doing it because I was good at it. And there's this weird thing in our society where if you're good at something, it's what you're kind of told you should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to even just like, old stories and fables. Like that's before written history. The idea that like you do the job that you're good at, and as long as everybody's doing that thing that they're good at, we as a society should prosper. but none of that addresses anything about what makes you happy, right? In fact, it's been quite the opposite. There's been a lot of stuff where it's been like, if we only did what we liked, then we wouldn't get anywhere, right? Like sometimes you gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps and grit your teeth and just work through it, even though you don't like it, and that's how you succeed. Rather than somebody being like, no, like you don't. There's a middle ground, or hell, you might even find that thing that you love that actually pays what you do. Like it is very often in our society writ large that we are, like you said, are more focused on like just do that thing that you're good at and just get away with it in the end. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Cool. So I really wish I could remember what my metaphor was. Where like strive to be as happy as X doing X.
There you go, everybody.
But I don't. It'll come to me, and I'll be like, I was like, oh, this is such good advice. I can't wait to share it with somebody. I couldn't even share it in like the one place where I'm supposed to share it.
I don't know, man. I was going to try and give you one. I think the closest I got was Sonic at the Hadron Collider. There you go. That's a good one. That's
solid.
Nerdy.
That's
nerdy and solid.
It was something I was watching. Like that's the fug of it, is that like I was watching something and I'm like, man, like to be as happy as that guy. And so I'm going through my head with all the things that I've been watching during what has essentially been a lost weekend, which I'm not upset about at all. Yeah. Like this weekend was very much me sitting and doing nothing. Yeah. Beginning on Wednesday when I saw Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, which is actually, that's the actual title, is Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me kind of okay with the fact that it's not called Ralph Wrecks the Internet. Because I had a conversation with someone who I'd like met at Douglas Movies tapings where she's like, I don't get the title. And I'm like, oh, then you haven't seen the trailer. Good for you. But like, that's why they think it's okay. It's because they made a little knowing wink at the camera. And they're like, that's it. Like, so I watched that. And then Thursday we watched the film FM. Have you ever seen FM?
Man, Jesus, I think I had to watch it in a film class or something.
Oh my God,
why were you watching that?
Oh, well, okay, so here's the thing. 2013, let's call it 2013. It's just safer to do that. Though it was probably 2012. It was 2012 or 2013. I discovered a band called Steely Dan. Right, we've talked about my love of Steely Dan.
Under the couch, there they were.
No, I had gone to a wrestling match in Delaware, and some people came to some blows during that show in our group.
Not on stage. Okay, got it.
Not on stage, no, because they had a make your own. So it was like backyard wrestling.
Sorry, we should use the link. In the ring.
So, and it was CZW, and I think it was called Renegade. I mean, this is a ways back, and they had a make your own weapon fight where like people in the audience put together the stupid type of things that people just hit themselves with in backyard wrestling.
Yeah, and then they throw them into the friggin' ring,
and they throw them into the ring. So this one guy in the audience had brought a Guitar Hero 2 controller. And he had covered the entire body of it in thumbtacks. And the guys in the ring...
I remember you telling me this story.
The guys in the ring look at that and are like, no, that's too fucking dangerous.
That's too far.
This is our job. No, that's too much.
See, sometimes you got to realize when it's time to just call it. You're just like, okay, kayfabe gone out the window.
Really
like,
cool
this is not happening.
that ties into everything that we've been talking about so far. But I had made up a beautiful Riot Punch, which for those at home who are unfamiliar with the nomenclature of a Riot Punch, it's grain alcohol and that bodacious blue drink that you get from
it's a black hole of lost memories. That's what it is.
It is. It really kind of is. But I'm a good. If you ever want to have a delicious drink made for you, I can do that. I made this punch. I dissolved an entire thing of strawberry Mentos into a bottle of Sprite.
Uh-huh.
And like that was the base, and then I poured those two things into it. So it was delicious.
Oh God.
Yeah, but more sugar added to grain alcohol. That's kind of asking for issues. But so that's what we were drinking all day.
It sounds like the gumdrop dragon ate a bag of Skittles and then just threw it all up. That's what that sounds like.
Oh, it
to
was
me.
good. It was so delicious. I really enjoyed. This was a good time. I'm not going to lie to you.
God.
So we drank it and we had a good time. But we got drunk. So I am Riot Punched out, and I go over to the guy with the Guitar Hero 2 controller that these people are like, that's too dangerous. And I'm like, yo, dude, after the show, if you want to, I'll let you hit me with that. And he's like,
Wow.
really? And I'm like, yeah, what the fuck do I care, right? I had health insurance at the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this, right? Like, this is going to be fun.
Okay. You've said a lot of very privileged things on this show that I have called you out for then, but never have I had to call you out as much as this.
I'm not
What the
trying.
fuck do I care. I have health insurance is the most, first of all, ignorant thing in the world, because there's no way that you could file an insurance claim for this. How do you explain that to an adjuster? Like, I'm sorry, you did what now?
I'm sorry.
You just let him do what?
So,
You just...
Sejohn, I have to be honest with you. I need to be honest with you. That's not how health insurance works.
What?
You don't file a claim. No, it's not like a car or a house. Health insurance
as somebody
just
that
means...
as somebody that has had to basically pay a bill because the insurance company has called me and been like, yeah, we're not covering that because you're an idiot. That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, but okay, but you are an idiot, and I don't love to call you an idiot on this show. I want you to know that I still love you, but
Yes.
I imagine you went to like the ER, right?
Huh?
So you don't go to the ER and say, my head is cracked open because I let some dude hit me over the head with a Guitar Hero 2 controller.
You lie to the doctor so
Yes!
that you don't actually know what happened?
You're
So
like...
what if like you were just like, oh yeah, I fell and tripped on some thorns, and they were like, oh okay, and then suddenly you die of tetanus because they didn't think to give you a tetanus shot because you weren't honest with them.
No, Sejohn, you don't, you bend. You don't break it, you bend it. And you're like, I was walking through the woods, and, I tripped, and I fell on a freaking fence post. There was a little bit of nails in it still. So, they got in my head. I don't know what to happen here. My head is
Weird
bleeding.
This very specific pattern, though, and there's like 60 of them, isn't it? Isn't it weird?
Well, yeah, obviously, anywho, so the story goes, I let this guy whack me over the head 3 times with this guitar. My hair, it has to have been 2012 because that was the year I grew my hair out. And I put my fingers through my hair. You're like the way that like cool guys do, the way that Keanu Reeves does it. And when I took my hands out of my hair, they were full of thumbtacks. So like, and it was fine, right? I didn't end up going to the doctor or anything for this, right?
Oh, why would you? That'd be just
I'm a hockey
ridiculous.
player, Sejohn. I was a hockey player. I've taken far worse damage than... I didn't go to the doctor when I dislocated my thumb. I just shoved it in a bag of ice and got back on the ice. But so one of the people in my group was so mad at me for letting myself get hit over the head with the Guitar Hero 2 controller that he took the weapon he had brought for the fight, which was an old acoustic guitar, and smacked me in the torso with it twice.
Wait, what, like with your knowledge or just out of nowhere?
Out of anger. Out of anger
God.
at me allowing that to happen, right? This is why, drink responsibly, kids. Because,
Yeah.
he's...
Remember that Riot Punch we were talking about before?
He's so concerned for me as a human being and my safety that his response is, I'm going to hurt you too.
Wow.
Right? It's a wacky world we live in, Sejohn.
Yeah.
But yes, so that happens. And the car ride home, it's 7 hours from Delaware back to Rhode Island. Silence. Absolute silence for kind of obvious reasons, right? 2 of the people in this car came to blows earlier. And then we stopped off at a gas station and another member of the party just threw up.
You're really selling that punch, man.
Oh, dude,
you really
dude.
are.
Well, I gotta tell you, I mean, I've adjusted the rest. I haven't drank it ever since, right? This was a plan, and it sort of backfired. That's how that story goes.
Yeah.
But We get to the New York Bridge, the George Washington Bridge, the Geo Wash, and the driver puts on A Decade of Steely Dan, which is a 14-song album that starts with FM, the title song from the movie FM, and plays through really the best of Steely Dan. Like, you don't have anything... the only songs you have from Asia on there are Deacon Blue and Peg, but, like, Asia being a great friggin' album, those are kind of the two hallmarks of it, right? Like, am I wrong saying that?
No. I mean, as somebody that only tangentially listens to Steely Dan, like, you know, I won't turn it off if it's on the radio type listens to Steely Dan. Those are the ones that I'm most aware of, so...
Yeah, so there you go. And as we sit in silence listening to Steely Dan, eventually all of us are just singing along, and that's when I learned the healing properties of the Dan.
Nice.
So,
oh god.
So I went out and I went to FYE and I bought a used copy of A Decade of Steely Dan.
Nice.
God,
Very nice. Did you know FYE still exists in Utah?
FYE still exists here.
I thought that they closed down, like that 2-story one and all that.
Well, that big one closed down, but they still exist in certain malls where, like,
the Rhode Island
there's
Mall?
enough foot traffic. No. Like, there's not one in Providence Place, but there's one in Warwick. There was one in Swansea, but that shut. There's still one in Emerald Square. I was there yesterday. So, like,
Man.
it still exists. You just need to find it, really. But yeah, so that's the thing, right? You live your life and you find these things, and it's a good time. So I buy it and I listen, and that song FM is a great song, right? Like, honestly, I would be convinced that Steely Dan went to Hollywood and was like, we have this song, and Hollywood's like, we need to make a movie to go with this song. That's how good this song
Yeah, you know,
is.
considering my feelings on more my memories of the film FM, that tracks. That makes sense to me.
Dude, that song was so good. AM radio stations superimposed an A sound over the F so they could play it on AM radio.
Nice. Because they weren't allowed to. No, not allowed to play this song.
Well,
You're promoting the enemy.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, no, you can't play a song about FM radio, but people want to hear it. All right, we'll figure something out. So like that's so. Last year, I go to a used record store, and I found the vinyl of the FM soundtrack. Beautiful condition. The guy's only asking for $5 for it. It's a double album. And I'm like, I'm going to buy this. And he's like, yeah, there's no reason to watch the movie. This is the best part of the movie. So then I'm on Target, and it like, you know, how everything's listening to what we're saying right now, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing that doesn't hear what we're saying right now. And what that meant was Target heard me talking about FM, and it brought up as like an ad that they had the FM DVD on sale for like $2.50.
Of course.
So I'm like, well, I'm gonna buy it, right? And then I never watched it. I bought it and I owned it, and then like it's Thanksgiving and we're like, oh, and I'm like, you know what? We're all here. We're gonna all sit down and watch this movie.
I've been waiting so long. I'm just my heart a patter. I need to watch this film.
I know nothing about it, except that there's a really good Steely Dan song in it. And we watched it, and I think we enjoyed it. I mean, my father stayed awake for it, and that is really all I need. He didn't stay awake for American Made, so you know.
Decker Dad approved.
Decker Dad approved. But yeah, that's the thing. And I'm thinking like maybe it was one of the Brooklyn Nine-Nine Thanksgiving episodes because I watched through those. No, yes. I can't think of that.
No.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, and I watched Hackers and A Guy Thing and What's the Worst That Could Happen.
Why are you watching all of these like mediocre films?
These are the movies that I love.
There's better versions of all of those movies.
All right, what is the better version of Hackers?
The Net with Sandra Bullock. Are you kidding me?
I'm sorry. Sandra Bullock never wears rollerblades.
Sneakers is also really good.
Sneakers is
I would
not
say that
Hackers. It's a completely different movie. Sneakers is
it's
a
more
good
of a
movie.
heist film, but it has the element of like new computer technology and the added benefit of Dan Aykroyd being the one using that technology. And I don't think that they wrote lines for Dan Aykroyd. I think they just let him talk in that film.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was his
Because
contract.
everything he says in that movie.
Steely Dan Aykroyd got himself a contract for Sneakers that read, I'm just going to get to say whatever I want.
Yeah.
And
Oh
it'll
my
work.
God.
Trust me, I'm Dan Aykroyd. And Robert Redford's like, let's do it. I'm the Sundance Kid, damn it.
Man. Wow.
Dude, I am currently like 6 weeks deep in a watching Hackers once a week run.
What are you doing to yourself, man?
I love that movie.
The next time I see you, you're gonna be wearing like fishnets and with your frosted tips. What is happening?
No, I'm not going to be Curtis. What does he do? You're looking at it. He just looks fly all day.
What's
He actually just looks
what's the name of the actor there?
Johnny Lee
Shaggy.
Miller?
No, the other one there, Shaggy and SLC Punk and all that.
Matthew Lillard?
Matthew Lillard, yeah. Matthew Lillard, isn't he the one in that movie that's like weirdly like feminized like throughout the whole thing?
Yeah, well, like his whole thing is that they have no names, they have no identity or gender.
Right.
He's Emmanuel Goldstein. That's his character name, but his handle is serial killer. Like Fruit Loops.
I like to think of that movie as a prequel to Scream.
I like to think of that movie as a prequel to The Matrix.
Oh God, they're like a pre-hacker group before everybody ends up like in the Matrix.
Yeah, it's because my favorite thing about the movie Hackers is that the director is on record being like, I know that computers don't look like cities inside, but I thought it would be more visually appealing to the audience.
Yeah, he had to basically come out and be like, look, we're not idiots, but like, what the fuck are we gonna show? And that is a consistent problem. Even now, I have yet to see a version of information traveling. Black Hat, that was the one with Chris Hemsworth, right?
Yeah, I liked that movie. Surprisingly, I liked that movie.
It's not perfect. It's got some weird flow issues. Like there's like 3 climaxes in that movie and all sorts of shit.
Yeah,
like
but it's a Michael Mann
very
movie, so I
That's
just
true,
explained
yeah.
that.
There's even that movie. I remember being the closest to what I thought was like an acceptable version of showing me how information on the internet works. But even that is a ridiculous like vision of just like lights and sound. It's not like how people portray the internet in film is like a study unto itself that I'm sure many people have done.
It's one of those things, though. It's cool that you bring up the net because I'm fascinated with like same premise, different movie, like Dante's Peak and Volcano and Deep Impact Armageddon, and I didn't realize until like I started watching Hackers again as an adult, so 6 weeks ago, like just how much Hackers and the Net are the same movie.
Isn't Swordfish kind of in that same vein too? If I'm remembering the plot of Swordfish.
Swordfish is 6 years later. Like when Hackers came out, they hacked the website, meaning they distorted their own website, and some of the graffiti was "Go see the net instead." Like, so both of those came out in 1995. And like Fisher Stevens.
Oh God,
I love Fisher Stevens.
I love Fisher Stevens, but talk about somebody that has made some questionable role choices in his life.
Yeah, him and Hank Azaria should start a club.
Oh God,
dude, it's like maybe it was that like be as happy as Fisher Stevens eating candy in Hackers. He like derides so much pleasure from like eating sweets in that movie. It wasn't that, but that's what we're gonna end on. But like one of his big threats to Johnny Lee Miller's character is that he'll make his mom a wanted felon. She'll be arrested, and then he'll change it back, and she will just disappear into the system, which is literally what they do to Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, it is
in the net.
To be what they do to her, yeah.
Like I'm just like, oh my God, these are the same movie. Plus, and like just even more weird kismet bullshit. In it's the Da Vinci virus in Hackers that is like the virus that they need to stop, and it's Da Vinci's Ghost is the website that if you access, you could see the truth about the net. Like,
oh my god!
Like 95, we were way into Leonardo da Vinci.
I thought you were about to. I thought you were about to swing into a Dan Brown conversation about how he must have grown up on these films.
I mean, probably, but I don't really respect Dan Brown enough. I mean, you know that I protested the Da Vinci Code, CJ. You were
not for religious reasons, mind you, but because
to get on TV. To get on TV. That's why I will own up to that. What is this episode? It's happy. I am sharing a load of happy memories.
Yeah.
To combat your terrible memory.
No, I mean I've been having some happy times this week too.
Good,
I mentioned earlier, you know, two Thanksgivings is always great. You know, we had the big family one on the day of, and that was great. Like 20 people hanging out. Taught a bunch of kids how to play Quiplash. Forgot to turn the family filter off. Didn't care. Still worked out. So that was a good time. But then, you know, we decided to just do a smaller one, just the family and the dog, and we all got together and. We had a fire. We just did up. Well, by this point, it had to be chicken because turkeys were either frozen solid blocks that we were just like, we're not going to bother trying to defrost this nonsense, or we could get pieces parts, but it wasn't good pickings anymore. So we went with like all sorts of good sides and all that stuff, and we just had a second Thanksgiving yesterday, and it was amazing. And I am still recovering because we had our own Riot Punch, and on top of that, eating a lot of good food, and then I had to get up and go to work for 6 hours today. So I'm like coming down from that high. That was a good time.
I mean, I got that beat. It wasn't a competition, but I got that beat. Because the Deckers, we do Steaksgiving on the day of Thanksgiving, where we go to a steakhouse and we just gorge ourselves. We got a seafood tower. We got mashed, but it was delicious. It was a delicious meal. And then we come home and we watch FM and we all have a beautiful night's sleep. I had to work Black Friday.
Right? Well, you watched FM every in the day.
Yeah. And then I had to work on Friday, but you know, it was a pretty easy day. I'll be honest with you. Then Saturday we do Thanksgiving 2. Now Thanksgiving 2 has been a tradition in the Decker house forever because we used to have to go to my grandmother's house. And they would not have enough food for the amount of people there. So there'd be no leftovers from that.
That's no fun.
So we had to cook our own Thanksgiving dinner at our house so that we could actually have the leftover turkey for sandwiches and such.
That was not a problem here. We came home with a fuck ton of leftovers from that first party. Oh my god, we're still eating those, and then we made more.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
It's not fantastic. It's actually to the point where I'm starting to wonder if it was the right idea.
But yes, so that's a thing that occurs. But then I spent yesterday at a what do you call the after funeral?
I don't know, man. It's the party. If I had my druthers.
The funeral after party is what I just took to calling it.
Yeah.
I attended that with a friend because they had someone pass away, and they're like, it'd be nice if you could be there because I'm like, no, I get it. I completely understand. And so I went to this whole event, and that went late. I got home around 11. I mean, granted, we watched Love Actually too, but you needed something to bring you up. Yeah. After all that, and
it is the season. You're getting there.
And then I had to be up this morning at 4:30 to take my parents to the bus station.
Oh.
So I partied hard, and I'm still going from 4:30 this morning. Mm-hmm. Because, Sejohn, I took your advice and saw Smallfoot today.
Yeah!
What a great movie!
Isn't it?
It's so good!
And what do you think about that song? Common has that villain song right in the middle of it?
This is so good. Here's the best part about it, and we're not going to ruin it here because I'm so proud of Sejohn for not ruining the best part of that villain song.
Yeah,
which was so good, and we're gonna geek out about it after we finish recording. And if you want to geek out with us, again, we're out there. We give our Twitter information at the end. Find us, geek out with us. But I'm so happy that we did that. We went to the Route 1 Cinema Pub, which I don't know if you've ever gotten a chance to head up there.
I haven't been able to be there yet, but everybody back home talks about it now.
Well, next time you are around here, we will make sure to go see something there. Because I had buffalo chicken and bacon cheeseburger egg rolls.
Oh, man.
That were so flippin' good. And then Smallfoot's there. And, like, literally minute 1 of Smallfoot, I'm in tears. Because of just how quickly and, like, the world was established and how well established the world was.
Yeah.
In, like, a snap of the fingers. Awesome. It's
that first song.
Good.
I honestly, it didn't even occur to me that Channing Tatum would be somebody that could do musicals. Like, I won't talk about like, it's not like he's like the best voice I've ever heard or anything like that, but it was just like, it was such a pleasant surprise because first of all, I didn't even realize it was a musical. Did we talk about this last time?
Yeah, we talked about this already.
Yeah, completely caught off guard by that. And then like, yeah, so it was just pleasant all around.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So it officially, like, it already had the Sejohn stamp of approval, but I'm going to give it the Stay Report stamp of approval because Hoba Joba.
Hoba Joba listening to that soundtrack ever since.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And just the story, and there's a lot there to unpack in a kid's film, and I appreciate that. Like, I feel like if kids continue to watch this film, they will eventually learn things from it that I feel are important lessons.
Well, and it's going to be one of those great films for a lot of people where, you know, they see it now and then like 15 years from now when they're sitting around in their dorm room trying to figure out what to do, like they'll put it on with some friends and they'll be like, holy crap, I didn't realize what was going on in this movie, but I'm so happy I saw this as a kid. It's like, I remember having tons of those experiences with things like Toy Story and things like that like it just didn't occur to me what was actually in front of me then, but like I could totally see now how those types of movies shaped me. And it's definitely one of those. I definitely think it's one of those movies.
Definitely.
Definitely. Oh man. I have been spending my week getting back into Destiny. That's the other thing I've been doing.
Cool.
Devon has nothing to say on the matter.
I have stuff to add. It's just like, it's cool. I just wish that Destiny worked for me.
Yeah, no, look, I am no lover of Destiny. I've talked about it on this show. I've talked about it on other shows. Like I am not like the apologist for Destiny. It is a fucked up game that has had a fucked up history. What they've tried to do with it has been really great. What they have actually succeeded in doing, not so much. Like I feel the same way about the idea of Destiny 3 that I did about the idea of Destiny 2. I'm excited to see what they do with it, but I don't know if I'll ever play it. But there's no way it won't ever come out, right? Like, because Destiny 2 is still something that tons of people play. They just had their release of their latest DLC. Not that I have it. I mean, it's like, it was weird how much that DLC got me invested in trying Destiny 2 again, despite the fact that I don't own it and don't plan on buying it yet. Because I wanted to judge how I felt about Destiny 2 again before I decided to invest more money into it. Because that was my biggest issue with the first time around with Destiny, is like, didn't feel like I got my money's worth out of the base game, and it wasn't until like 2 DLC packs in when suddenly I was just like, this is the game that I expected when I first opened the box. And by that point I realized I had invested like $120 in that instead of the 60 that you do in most games. So, same thing going on here with Destiny 2. I've invested the $60, got there my first night. I'm sitting here as we speak with my little Cade 6 figure right in front of me that I got for being there at midnight. And like I played the first, I played it for about 2 weeks. I played the first campaign and went through all of that, and I was just like, great. I'm stuck in the same point I was at this point with Destiny 1, in which I have nothing really left to do. So I haven't touched it since. And then it occurred to me that like I wanted to start trying to do some streaming stuff, and maybe this is a little bit of a reveal here, but I'm hoping to at least within the next after the new year. I mean, if not sooner, I'm hoping to start doing a lot more streaming from my PS4, because they've also just updated that whole thing. Not immensely, not in any way that I think would make you change your opinion on things, Devon, but like they've updated.
What changed my opinions? I mean, I just run out to my monitor that has HDMI out and do it that way.
No, but Yeah, but
Oh, you mean of
the way that you
Destiny?
feel about PS4, no, of PS4 is streaming like share service stuff
Yeah,
that
no.
they
I mean,
have
I've
built in.
I've already found a better
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
So
You have a you have a way to do it and it probably is better, but I am not somebody that's necessarily in that position yet. So what PS4 now does actually does work for me, and so I'm excited because it does mean I'm going to start streaming some stuff, and I've been streaming here and there, just some trial stuff. Like I streamed a little bit of Crash Bandicoot one day. I might have thrown some Destiny stuff up. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and check my Twitch page if it still has it. Um, but I've been just trying to do some things, and I want to get a fire team together of 3 people, me and 2 other people, to actually try and do some stuff. But I think for the sake of like time, money, investment, and all that stuff, I think I just want to go back to Destiny 1. But I was trying out Destiny 2 to see if maybe that was the place to go in. And I getting back in the fire team stuff has been super addictive like it was the first time around. It's weird how much I see the strings with that game, and normally that ruins it for me. And I'm not saying that I'm even enjoying my time playing it, but I can't seem to find I can't seem to stop. I can't seem to just stop myself. And I don't know why. I don't know what it is about Destiny. I don't know what it is that Bungie does, what black magic they use to like make that game hook people the way that it does. Because everybody I know that plays that game has nothing but complaints about it and is on it for 6 hours a night. I don't know, man. I don't know where it comes from, but I'm slowly finding myself in that boat again, and so I need to maybe start setting that online stuff up so that I at least have a focus. Because once again, I have found myself going through all the content and not really having much else to do but jumping on and running strikes and stuff.
yeah, and I mean, I get that. Like, it's why one of the reasons why I'm able to play Link to the Past the way I'm able to is because it's essentially different every time.
Mhm.
And like, I downloaded Dead Cells to like try to do that, and I've
Mhm.
enjoyed it so far, but there are some issues that I have with it. Like, I
Yeah.
was holding off on it, but like every time I'm going for a drive with the family, I like to download a game to my Switch, so I feel like I'm using it, if
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense. And Dead Cells was on sale for Thanksgiving because of Black Friday, so I
Right.
picked it up, and I'm like, I'm gonna try it, right? Let's try it. This should be fun. And I enjoyed it, and like I made some progress, but I think one of my biggest issues with it is like you save certain things, but you don't like really save your levels and stuff. And
Sure.
because it is a roguelike and it changes literally every time that you die, the dungeon like shifts itself. Like, I don't know, like there was a time where I almost beat the next guy who has the item that I need that will unlock more progress for me. And I'm like,
Sure.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get there because on the way to finding him, I found 8 level up scrolls. And I'm not
Right.
always finding 8 level up scrolls, or I'm
Right.
not
Right.
always
Right.
finding a gold weapon that is like,
There's an element of luck involved that you don't have control over, right? Like you'd rather it be a skill based thing, like something like Link to the Past, where nothing ever really changes unless you're the one that changes it, right? With ROM hacks or whatever, like nothing ever really changes in that game, so you know exactly what you're going to encounter when and how, so you can get good in a way that you necessarily can't with a game like Dead Cells for sure.
but I'm glad that I tried my hand at like rogue-like Metroidvania. But it's still one of those things where I'm like, I don't know.
I am. It's one of those things that I'm very happy exists in the world, and there are people out there enjoying it, right? But I feel like being kind of the first real, you know, amalgamation of its kind that has at least gotten this much exposure. I, there's going to be 4 or 5 more games just like it in the next 10 years. Just wait, and maybe one of those will hit you in a way that this one doesn't, because I feel like Destiny is the first real like dungeon runner where like people do this all the time on like ESO and these people have done it on Warcraft for years, World of Warcraft for years. Like the idea of just jumping in and running the same dungeons, the same bosses and all that stuff over again just so that you get better and better stuff is nothing new. But Destiny is the first game that in that genre that I've ever really linked to, as well as first person shooters. I've never really been a Call of Duty guy. I've played those games, but not because I necessarily wanted to. I think Niall Hover was sending me like a bunch of bootlegs so that I could to like play with him and his guys at all of the LAN parties he used to throw. Like that was the only way that I ever really got into first person shooters, right? And so it wasn't really until Destiny where I like actually felt like, hey, this like the shooting mechanic actually feels really good, and like the way that I like work my gear and figure that all makes sense to me. Like that part of Destiny I love. The problem is that's layered on top of a bunch of nonsense in that like the game is thin. There's not nearly enough content to keep me interested. The content that is there is very repetitive and redundant in a lot of ways, which the content within your strikes cannot be redundant if I'm going to constantly replay. Like I'm already going to make it redundant by replaying it a bunch of times. It can't already be redundant the first time I'm playing it.
Yeah, and Destiny 2, I've only done a couple of things in that game. I have not gotten that far in it, but like those first few missions have so many just kill the never-ending waves of dudes until we let you move forward. Yeah. And like I would never want to replay those missions.
Oh yeah, no. Destiny missions are always run to this thing, and then while your ghost scans it, basically kill waves of dudes. Then run to the next thing, kill waves of dudes. Then run to the final thing and kill the boss, who's going to be surrounded by waves of dudes. Like that is what Destiny missions are, plain and simple. And what they did in the first one that was so far buried that like 90% of people never bothered to get to it is once you finally got your like light level up and you finally got all of your powers, and you unlocked all your subclasses and all of that. You could actually like work through and change up things in missions to actually like make like cool little things like, hey, in this one only grenade launchers, or like, hey, in this one handguns do more damage, and if you're using void weapons you'll be at a disadvantage. Like you could do those kinds of like weird little tweaks that would actually change things up just a little bit. Not much. You'd still be fighting waves of dudes, but you'd at least be doing it in with like a little bit of a puzzle element to it almost, because you'd have to be figuring out exactly who to hit with what when, you know. And if you ran out of heavy ammo, well, you'd fucked. If it was only heavy weapons for that round, oh well. Like it never truly broke, but there were definitely moments where it was a different game. But you couldn't get to that until you put 60, 70 hours into that game at the least, you know. And so it wasn't ever worth it for me to really get there. And then Destiny 2 came around, and it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I've enjoyed my time with them, but it's just one of those things. But it's an interesting thing that you point out about like playing a game, like even though there are predecessors to it, you play the game that works for you, and then that gets you into the whole mashuga of it.
Yeah.
Like
right.
third-person shooters, yeah. I didn't care about third-person shooters until I played Red Dead Revolver. And I'm like, this is awesome. And then I got into third-person shooters. And then I was still disappointed in a game like Resident Evil 4 because I had hoped that it would be similar to Red Dead Revolver, but it's still that tank-type control. And I haven't found a tank control game that really does it for me yet to get me into those. But because Red Dead Revolver was so good, that's why I was willing to go into the Uncharted games and played them the way that I did. And it's why I was excited for Red Dead Redemption. And it's why I hate that I'm not excited for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
But all this talk of video games, a little bit of self-promotion right here, a little bit of a brag.
Okay.
On Sunday, December 2nd, starting at 10 a.m. on the Slippery Fish channel, I will be completing a Random-A-Thon.
What?
Random-A-Thon. It's going to be a marathon stream of the Mega Man X randomizer, the Super Mario World randomizer, and the Link to the Past randomizer.
Rando-thon. Better name. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I didn't come up with the name.
It's fine. It's great. It sounds awesome. I'm not trying to shit on them. That was rude. But yeah. That's awesome. And that's fantastic.
And I'm actually going to be completing my 200th Link to the Past randomizer run during that event. So I'm pretty excited for that.
That is awesome, man.
But also, like, you talk about knowing, like, the game and like, being able to change it up. All of my experience is pretty much Link to the Past randomizer. I played through one Super Mario World randomizer when it like first came out. I think it was version 1.4 of the randomization, and it was a little bit broken. So like I beat it, but I beat it, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be doing these a bunch. But I volunteered to do like a fundraising thing with the Super Mario World randomizer. So I'm like, I got to learn it again. Like, I need to learn it now. And the changes that they've made have made it a more viable thing. Like, I've cleared 3 or 4 now. And it's just so much fun playing that game randomized. So if you like Super Mario World, check that out. And Mega Man X Randomizer, it's still in, like, super beta. And it can break a bunch. But, like, everyone I've played, even though, like, I've had these moments where, like, Chill Penguin would jump out of bounds and thus be unbeatable.
Oh, God.
I've been able to, like, I've had to fight the game and knowing how I know these games. So I'm very excited to try to do them in a marathon setting with Slippery Fish and just have a good time. So if you're a fan of this, come check us out on Sunday. It should be a good time.
Excellent, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So
I mean, we've already hit the plugs portion of our show.
Yeah, right. I mean, like that's sort of where you wind down. But I just feel like I've been rambling this whole episode.
Kind of like we do every episode.
That's true. But this one, I mean, like, I feel like I have some focus usually, but today I have just shut off all the filters and gone.
See, I'm telling you, man, it's that food coma. Like, your brain is still processing everything from the last. Like,
I had IHOP for breakfast the last 2 days.
Oh,
so like, yeah, and then I ate those egg rolls. Like, yeah, and I ate 8 chicken tacos last night. Which, don't eat 8 rolled chicken tacos. We're gonna end on like a PSA. Hi, everybody.
Open with one and we'll close with one.
I'm Devon Decker from the Say Report. And the rolled chicken taco is back at Taco Bell. It's available in 2-packs or 4-packs. Don't ever get more than a 4-pack. Your eyes and your belly will say do it, but think of your health. You could eat 8 rolled chicken tacos. I'm proof of that. But you're not going to feel great the next morning. I thought I had the flu this morning when I woke up. I got my usual 6.5 hours of sleep, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. I imagine this is what hangovers feel like, as I've never had one. So from all of us here at the Say Report, remember, roll your chicken tacos responsibly. No more than 4.
The more you know.
Anything else to add, Sejohn?
Not to that. You can find me if you want to talk to me about all sorts of Destiny nonsense, or
he's
if
looking
you want any
for
more
a
great
fire
Sage,
team.
Yeah. If you're looking for any good Sage life advice, like hey, don't work without a contract, then you can find me at Siege versus the World.
And if you love
Twitter.
me unhinged, just going shooting from the hip, and you want all of the Sage advice that every mistake I've made has led me to be in wonderful command of, you can find me on Twitter at Devon D. Decker.
All right, man.
And now to the man who's very happy that he sounds the same no matter what universe we're in. William, take us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.